sail. And it's a lot different than the other trips that happen on the wharf. Generally there's whale watch and there's a little bit of sport fishing. But we're truly the only large capacity sailboat down there. And our mission is to inspire conservation of our oceans. We do that in a couple of different ways, and we found that the best way to get people to understand how their impact on the environment and on our oceans can be positive or negative is to really tune them into how the whole system works. And we do that by doing a couple different things on the boat during the day. First thing we do is we talk about fisheries. We go by the wharf down in Monterey and we look at the abalone fishery down there. There's actually an abalone farm under the wharf.
Right.
We get to talk about positive aquaculture issues and negative ones, maybe about salmon farming and how that impacts the ocean negatively. And as we're starting to head out the harbor, we'll grab some drift kelp and we look for the critters in there. And we start talking about how the interaction between all the different animals out in the ocean really is a very subtle balance, and how it's very easy to upset that balance by overfishing, for instance. We get to tell the story about the sea otter population and how that disappeared when they were all hunted out in the late 1800s, and how it took the whole ecosystem out of balance when the kelp beds disappeared. The kelp beds returned when the sea otters returned because the sea otters could keep the sea urchins and the abalone in check, which was very critical. And then that whole nursery of the kelp beds returned. So that was a really nice story, because a lot of the stories of overfishing or overhunting don't end happily. So it's nice to see that we can actually change our behaviors and positively impact what's going on in the ocean. We'll also do a plankton tow when we're out on the water. We'll tow a net behind the boat, and when we bring it up, we'll look at what the balance is between zooplankton and phytoplankton. Generally, there's a changing balance throughout the summer, depending on if there's more zooplankton or phytoplankton. And once we put them up on the video microscope, people start to understand that there's billions of critters out here that we don't even see, but that are really significantly impacted by our everyday behavior. We've got a benthic sampler, a little crab trap on the bottom of the ocean that we'll pull up every day, and we'll look at all the sea stars and perhaps the crabs, and once in a while a squid will crawl in there, and it's kind of cool to check those guys out. And then we'll set sail. Sailing is really probably the most popular part of the whole program. Everybody really enjoys. Once the motor goes off, everything seems to come into balance. It's really a nice time of the trip. So we'll sail for about an hour and a half of the 3-hour trip. And as we turn the boat to do our final surf into Monterey Harbor, we start talking about plastics in the ocean. We start talking about how they impact all the critters out here through entanglement. And often we'll see sea lions that are entangled in fishing line right inside the harbor there. And we'll also talk about ingestion issues.